Grief's Final Dance in South America. This is a prose piece that I wrote when I came back to Canada after living in Venezuela with my daughters Olivia and Jessica and my brother Jeremy. Because I do not remember details, I have been left with sensing your life through poignant want, deep yearning, necessary journeys. I have traveled a long way, both literally and figuratively, so that you would become real. I have missed you, that man whom I never really knew. Murder cannot be reversed. Toronto did not look sane for a long, long time. The Canada you chose for solace, for peace, lost its sheen, lost its aura of safety. But it was not Canada that murdered you. It was 3 men. One wielding the gun with the bullet that entered your heart. Another wielding the gun with the bullet that entered your spine. What remained for a long time, Dad, until Jeremy called me to South America, until Auntie Vilma's ghost beckoned, was a striking and driving passion to eradicate those 2 bullets from your flesh, so that you would be alive again. Like profane yielding to sacred, rugged and reckless emotions have arrived and danced a surly gavotte in my spirit and in my mind. Like a paleontologist, I have labored to rebuild huge and formidable dinosaurs from a scattering of bones, skeletal remains, and a few teeth, scraping and dusting off fossilized fragments, memories of who I was before you were shot, in an effort to create wholeness, doing the autopsy backwards, so I could live in the now, so that I would face my death when it finally comes, so that I could live this life. Thank God, I have come a long way. I am Margot in the first person. In saying my name out loud, I see myself in relation to the life that I know, that I have known. Before we left Guyana, before I went back there 29 years after your murder, to see if that was where I belonged, finding the old grave markers in La Repentir burying ground, looking for clues, my great-grandmother's tombstone crumbling, her name barely visible, her bones still there. Generations of bones lying underneath giant coconut trees, white and gray and decaying stone. You were killed elsewhere, murdered, the country that was chosen for peace, for newness, for raising your family. I have wanted to be angry here in Canada since I was 16. I did not know who to blame. I did not know who to speak with for your untimely death. But death is always untimely. I have shed tears for myself, for the world, for all of the ache and terror and horror. I have been putting together pieces I barely recognized, attempting to move from the picture of you lying in the casket in your stunning gray suit with the fine white stripes, your dignified look upon your face, the first time you would wear that beautifully tailored suit, the last kiss I placed upon your forehead, in your hair, feeling as though I could join you there, only to discover years later, on the long, hot bus ride from Venezuela to Brazil, through the Grand Sawbonna, over some of the oldest rock on this planet, when the young Paimon woman gracefully put her crying baby into my arms, that it was not a last goodbye, because you did not leave me, Dad. In the wail issuing from the throat of that bushy-headed, black-haired baby, with Jeremy smiling and shaking his head as my tears streamed, I saw you before me, asking me to dance, to move my hips, to salsa, to samba, to riv with the calypso. I do not wish to ever tell you a story of happy endings, of rare and subtle insights. I only wish to tell what happened, to tell how the jarring journey via the bleak tunnel that is grief's highway is strewn with all manner of act in an effort to justify my life. Red balloons launched over black, cold, mist-covered rivers in the act of finally setting you free, to prompt me to finally stop guarding your crypt, of rivers and rivers of tears shared in the company of the kindred and in solitude, of kneeling before the vast and brilliant universe and in front of the small grottos strewn all over South America, where a ledge dripping with gobs of melted wax, cluttered with pictures and petitions, and having one small metal box into which coins can be dropped, beckon. My favorite was the grotto of the Virgin of the Rock, Virgen de la Roca, located at the entrance of the vast and breathtaking Grand Sawbonna National Park, which lies between Venezuela and Brazil. At that place, after adding my bolivares to the box, I beseeched the Virgin of the Rock to hear the keen of my stricken soul, beseeched her to show me how to eradicate the contemplation of the vertical slice of a sensually sharp silver razor on my wrist. I wish to tell only of journeying, of returning, of discovering that power is a strange gift to own, a strange gift to know, a stranger, until you begin to see not with your eyes, but with your soul. I discovered I had a good soul, a sane and vital soul. Discovered, too, that power, or as they say in Spanish, potencia, is a total and complete divine right, granted to us before we are but twinkles in our daddy's eyes, and long before our mothers taste the first cycle of the moon. Discovered that how we use that gift, that is power, in times when softness is required, and in times when harshness is a must, is the road, the camino we must choose, for it delivers us from much uncertainty, much pain, much darkness, into light and openness, into our very own hands. And it does not come without risk, without loss, without change. Oh, but it comes. You're an ass to take my nieces to South America. There is no future there. Why did we leave there in the first place? You're playing with their lives. Words from siblings who believed they knew the right thing for me to do. And my mom agreed. Words of warning. words of caring, of love, that pointed to the belief that I shared at the time, that I was stupid, a loser, an unwise mother. How we have all grown from those brutal, brutal days. I left Canada to teach, to learn to mother my children differently, to go back to Guyana, to write, to learn to own my life, and to find your spirit, Dad, to seek your soul. After my divorce, after growing far too thin and too tired, after realizing I no longer had equilibrium, if I ever had it at all, since your murder, realizing that I could no longer scrape together a sense of who I was, who I wanted to be, all dreams dead, no context for living remained. A shabby and pale content in which I floundered was it. I decided to sell and give away everything I owned and leave Canada, trusting only the fact that my brother loved me and wanted me and my daughters there with him in Venezuela. My daughters, the granddaughters you never met. I left Canada, leaving behind too many unkind words, too many brutal fears, a life without salvageable content. You're here because you're not as scared as you think, Jeremy's voice, as he slid the half-full whiskey bottle along the long white counter in my direction, the hot night air moving through the kitchen mingling with the noise of the traffic in the busy Venezuelan street, the endless beeping of taxi drivers, desperate for a fare, honking on women, celebrating life, the music blaring from the fenced-in yards all around us, perched in our 11th floor apartment, the cacophony of squawking parrots and barking dogs joining us as the soft squeak of the checkered red and pink hammock swayed softly on the balcony. The rope, holding it in place, grated against the concrete as my tears steadily streamed, fear suffocating me, its earnest grip tightening around my throat. Everything was too difficult in Canada. At least here I have an excuse to struggle, to cry, to fuck up, to lose, I told Jeremy, watching his green eyes, the shape of his fingers holding the perspiring glass, the curve of his fingernails, his hairy legs exactly like yours, Dad. The earnestness and joy in his face, the same as yours, in the picture taken on the last New Year's Eve you were alive, holding a perspiring glass, your head tilted in the direction of friends, a broad smile on your face, your red and white country and western shirt, gingham, neatly tucked in the waist of your denim jeans, the second pair you owned in your life. Jeremy's earnestness and joy mirrored yours. This I noted when we had embraced at the airport in Caracas a few days before. I had watched him hailing the taxi, listened to the stream of Spanish flowing from his throat, directing the driver to the motel he had chosen for the night, laughing heartily, remarking at how grown his niece were, how many talks, running late into the night we shared, Jeremy and I, finding us both exhausted and exhilarated, were one of the great gifts he offered me, your son. Unanticipated before I boarded the plane in Toronto with your granddaughters. Those lengthy, intense, joyous talks started on our first night in Venezuela. We started talking at the motel over a rich sopa mondongo tripe soup with a pungent and garlic tomato tang. We continued to talk, and we still do. What if you don't lose? So what if you cry? Jeremy asked me as I reached out and caught the whiskey bottle. Just keep walking, Marg. What if you just try to have fun? Why do you have to compare yourself to anyone or agree with what anyone says? Marg, what if you could make a life here? I did. I realized that I had never drunk whiskey before. Never drank with my little brother, in fact. Jeremy only 5 years old when he leaned over your casket. Is Dad in heaven with the angels now? His sweet voice. Was there ever mercy? Were there ever more than black, black nights? Our glass hitting the floor, glass shattering, sand spilling out. So many putrid-smelling flowers. I hate flowers for death, lining the walls, the tables, the floor of the funeral parlor, their scent hideous. Carnations, roses, heated, pulsating grief reigns supreme. Facing friends at school and wanting to hide, to bury myself in food, in fire, in forgetting that there was a day to be finished, smelling the brown soil shoveled into the void that was your grave, marching like hollowed-out scarecrows behind the cart, the one that pulled the coffin in which you were laid out, we the dispossessed, while banners of ache flapped, hanging off a long, dark, naked pole, slightly bending towards a black, black earth, struggling to aim towards a blue-black heaven. Poor, heavy-laden mule, dragging the bone and fleshy macabre jumble of all of our anguish and your corpse. But it was not that way. It was not the movies. No regal procession took place, though on the news there was the celluloid of the funeral. It bore a striking resemblance to a movie, a show, a film clip of the process from church to cemetery. No movie stars. Your wife, your children, brothers, sisters, parents, all piled up around the cold earth after the slow drive through familiar suburban streets that would never look the same again. The coffin was sealed, and you were inside. No more breathing, no more breath, starting to decay. Tension gripped us all, thick sorrow filled the air, each person waiting for the wail and the shriek in that unrealistic jaunt toward our final goodbye to you in the graveyard. Pine Hill Cemetery. Cement angels guarded the names and bones of those that were there before you. I wanted to decapitate them, to crucify them. I wanted to be crucified on a cross on a tree, fat nails hammered through my palms, sword in my side, to feel anything else but the searing anguish of knowing I would never see you again, never talk about careers, dreams, ghosts, about sexism and patriarchy, politics, never have you listen to me read poetry in the tent as we camped. No more Khalil Gibran, no more Margaret Atwood, no more Robert Frost. Never hear your Guyanese accent and watch your straight white teeth flash your warm and sensual smile. My cheering section, you, Dad, the one I trusted, dead, dead, dead. Yet, that bushy-haired baby in my arms, wailing, proclaiming his life, his place there on the hot, hot bus, making its way over ancient, ancient land, ancient rock, while the passengers peeled ripe mangoes, sipped cool water, slashed open packages of crispy, greasy plantain chips, brought life back to me. I shared in the spirit of that vast and miraculous place, where angels soar in the form of clouds, and where water, cold and deep and black, spills from rocks, over, between, upon, into small waiting pools, while fat, vigorous clouds dance above the tepuis, those glorious flat-topped, wind-carved mountains, reaching towards the blue heavens. I inhaled the rain from a crack in the window on the bus. So clean and revitalizing it was, Dad, that I felt reborn into a different world, a new world, a world that pierced itself like firm and reassuring pincers upon my flesh, reminding me that the red rock, the brilliantly white and orange soil, the mad array of greens and blues and gold oranges were truly of this world. While the sun beat upon the tarmac and the hot overflowing bus made its way towards Brazil, I became alive. My eyes opened. I understood the beauty of seeing life, of beholding it right in front of me and beside me. You, in my baby brother, in your son, Jeremy, that brilliant, bushy-headed baby boy in my arms, Jesus Miguel, reminded me of when you had held your brilliant, bushy-headed baby boy, Jeremy, in your arms. I understood that death is always untimely, Dad. But the end of grief is untimely too. And it is rich, grand, desired, required, and deeply, deeply appreciated. That final dance. I traveled a long way to learn to say, with a glass held high, joy bursting from my voice, the toast issuing forth, Salut, salut, l'chaim, to life, always to life. I love you, Dad. It is a good, good journey.